Welcome to the Registry Insider. I'm Bill Seifarth, CEO and Executive Director for the National Registry of AEMTs. And today's episode, filmed from NEMSES conference in Orlando, Florida, we are talking about how to make your students successful, certainly on the National Registry exam, but also in the classroom and furthermore in life, I guess.
In life.
Yeah. So joining me today is Terrie Godde. She's from our Stakeholder team at the National Registry of AEMTs, and she's our Education Program Manager. So Terrie, thank you for joining me for today's episode.
Thank you.
So this is certainly a passion of yours as an educator and a recovering regulator.
That's right.
But tell us a little bit about how you became interested in the subject of making your students successful, and then let's get into the details of it.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to work on is how can we help people be more successful? How can we help our education programs be more successful? And really, the truth is, we have to help our students.
Mm-hmm.
Not every student is going to learn the same way. Not every student lives the same as others do. What can we do to help those who are struggling with remembering, not just to pass a test, not just to get through a quiz, but to really have that lifelong experience of learning. And there's so many different types of habits you can help a student gain just by learning acronyms or creating acronyms or acoustics, a word puzzle. And if you're not that talented or creative, like I'm not creative at all, I use an AI program. Help me, these are the words, create an acronym for me. Music mnemonics. And I said earlier in our presentation, when you think of a music mnemonic, think of a song that you like. And of course, I brought up Jenny's phone number, 867-5309, and now everyone will be singing it the rest of the day.
So essentially, it's cues to trigger memories, what I'm understanding. So what are some of the more common cues that are used, or how can you go about finding that list?
Good. The 11 memorization techniques is what I used as a resource, but I looked further into memorization, and really the best resource I could find is a book called Moonwalking with Einstein, which is not a book I would normally pick out at the bookstore. Boy, is this a good read. And this gentleman, Joshua Foer, just wanted to remember things and wanted to excel at remembering. And he's able to not spend a lot of time every day memorizing, but it's how he spends his time every day. Not everybody has an hour or 2 hours to spend to study, to learn things, or to remember things that you need throughout your life. But we all do probably have 15 minutes. And if we spend that 15 minutes instead of focusing on time and just memorization, just to memorize for whatever we need, we're not going to really retain that information. It's how we spend that 15 minutes instead of the actual 15 minutes. And that Moonwalking with Einstein, highly recommend.
Fantastic. Good recommendation. And as it relates to the memorization techniques you were talking about, I forget what the percentages are, but certainly if you read something, you have a higher probability than versus just hearing something. But clearly a lot of the students, they're just getting new information pushed down them in the span of a couple hours, and they don't retain a lot of it. That's clear.
No, they don't. Dr. Heather Davis, who I know you know well, she is an amazing person, an amazing instructor. I sat in on one of her sessions one time, and what she did was read off 12 items on a slide. We had to take notes. So just as every student we expect to take notes while we're reading our slides, we sat there, she told us the 12 items, we wrote them down, and she changed the slide and said, turn your paper over and write down now those 12 items, right after we had taken these notes. Well, most of us could only remember 5 or 6. We did not retain anything, and we still didn't retain the information, just the names of those. Then she had us stare at a slide for about 2 minutes, and it was a different slide with 12 other items. And we stared at that for 2 minutes, sat down, wrote down the 12 items. We got a lot better with that. But the next thing she did was have us open these Ziploc baggies that had 12 items in it. We each had different items. And we took each item out and put them in alphabetical order in front of us. So some of us had buttons, ink pen, a pin, that kind of stuff. Just 12 of those items. And putting them in alphabetical order. And then she just carried on. We didn't have to do anything after that. She collected all of our items. And at the end of the session, she said, now write down those 12 items. Well, we all remembered our 12 items because we used all of our senses. You know, we used our
Hands.
touch, we used our mind, our thought, and we had to put them in alphabetical order, and we were able to remember it that way.
So it seems like the more you apply it, the more senses you use,
Yes.
the easier it is to remember.
Very much so.
So how does that then tie back to, obviously, this episode as it relates to remembering more stuff? So get more active, get more engaged, engage the students more so that they have
Yes.
more senses involved, I presume.
Yes. The more an item or what you're trying to remember is repeated, rhythmic method, rhyming, strategies, and visually, the more they're going to remember. So if you can put all of those on, and that comes from Joshua 4 as well, from Moonwalking with Einstein, if you put those together, continue to do that, work on the rhyming, work on whatever works for you to remember things, you're going to do better in life. You're going to remember the things that you need to remember. And then work with students, I would say, on things like time management and self-confidence. There's a lot of resources out there that help them with that, but they're able to remember things if they don't have those stressors, those added stressors.
So life skills, equipping them with good life skills, and then allowing them to have those techniques that you're talking about,
Yes.
the memorization, the memory techniques. We've had that a bit in EMS with, I'm thinking of the acronyms, DCAT, BTLS, originally the ABCs, and all of those acronyms were actually very helpful for students to remember
Right.
it. But is it any other activities or any other suggestions you can give to educators to consider incorporating?
I would say to look up and research the Memory Palace a little bit more. I'm still learning about it, and it's amazing what we can do just with how we put a picture in our brain to whatever we're trying to remember. If we attach that with a picture, store that here in our brain, when we need it, we'll be able to retrieve it just like that. And that really is what he did, and is able to remember literally everything. He can remember if he were here with us today, he'd remember in 2 years the date, what we talked about, what we were wearing, all of that.
Fascinating.
It really is fascinating. But doing research in memory, creating a memory palace, it's pretty interesting.
So lots of resources you reference. If you want to, can you rattle them off again? The book,
Sure.
And then the Memory Palace and other stuff.
Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua 4. That's a relatively new book. Another one I would highly recommend is Make It Stick by Peter Brown. Every educator should have that book down. And then 11 memorization techniques. And I just found that through a Google search, and I was really researching what are some good tips. There are many. Mm-hmm. There are some that have 15 or 20, but I thought 11 was a good number, and all of the items on that 11 list are pretty good. Like I said, write it down, read it, write it, say it out loud. The more you do that, the more you're going to remember it. The easier you're going to remember it. The recall with the Memory Palace.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for joining us on this, your debut on the Registry Insider. And it's an important element that I think we tend to forget about. Speaking of memory, we tend to forget about and overlook the importance of helping our students to be successful, not only in our classroom, but in life. And a lot of good references and a lot of good resources. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you as well for joining me. And as always, stay safe. Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you wouldn't mind, please click the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notifications so you can get notifications of upcoming episodes. Also, for the latest and greatest happenings of the National Registry, feel free to go to nremt.org. Thank you very much. And again, stay safe.